Shawn Porter, WBC champion, says he's not moving to DAZN or ESPN, and the best fights for Terence Crawford are all with PBC. Stay tuned. Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, Shawn Porter, he was at the Contender. They had a season finale, and Shane Mosley's son lost to Brandon Adams. He won $250,000. So props to him for that. Definitely a resurgence for his career, getting that type of money, you know, a fresh start. We've seen guys like Sergio Mora on the Contender and go on. Now he got a commentary gig, and he had big fights with Danny Jacobs, and a lot happened for him after that. So congrats. Now, Shawn Porter, the link is in the description. I seen the interview, and he said a bunch of stuff that I want to kind of speak on, and he was talking about the PBC. He was asked some questions, and this is easy. I'm not going to say it verbatim. You guys can go to the source link. But he says he's not leaving to DAZN or ESPN. Everything's laid out pretty nicely for him where he's at, and he's honored to be in the position that he's at. And he says that as far as Terence Crawford, Crawford has a belt. He's a very good fighter. He's put himself in position to be a champion basically in his first fight at welterweight, and he's already defended his title at home. He's doing great, but at the end of the day, Terence Crawford is kind of in no man's land. And he didn't say that choice of words, I'm saying that. And he said because the best fighters are on Premier Boxing Champions and PBC, and it is what it is. So he says that would blow it up if Terence Crawford came over and start getting in the mix with the PBC fighters. But basically, without a doubt, the best fighters in the welterweight division are all, part of the Premier Boxing Champs imprint, minus Crawford. Listen, I've said the same thing, and I keep telling you guys, and a lot of people they're upset and they're rushing. Oh, how come we're not getting Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford? Listen, it's a good fight. I told you, me personally, I think there's other fights that have been brewing and going on a lot longer. Guys who have been in the same division, who are in the same division, like Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, and we still haven't even gotten those fights. So, as we know, things don't always, unfortunately, happen when we want them to happen. Canelo versus Triple G, there were opportunities for Golovkin and Canelo to meet in 2016, but Golden Boy, Canelo, they vacated the belt and they chose against it for whatever reason. So we know how the game goes. There's opposing networks, and I understand. I told you, Bob Arum is smart. He's been in the business, and he's putting it out there real thick, like, yeah, we want Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford, he could fight Errol Spence. But the reason why it sounds like, I don't doubt that Terence Crawford as a fighter would fight anybody, within reason. Maybe not even within reason, because that's just his temperament. And I see what Bob Arum is doing. To me, I feel like Bob Arum realizes that he doesn't have a sellable stable to offer Terence Crawford. So he's already setting up the play that when he has to make lesser fights, he's going to blame Premier Boxing Champions. It's very easy to see that, because again, this is exactly what I've been telling you guys. Like Shawn Porter said, they have mostly all of the talent that Terence Crawford, like star-making fights for Terence Crawford, but it's on the other side of the street, as everyone keeps calling it. That's just a fact. You know, so people got mad at Timothy Smith, and he's doing interviews, and what he said was true. You know, there's nothing to get mad at. People are like, oh, I see PBC. Why don't they want to fight the best versus the best? So Top Rank has made a whole career with certain fighters like Pacquiao fighting in-house fights before anything else. Major fight would have been Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. And guess what? It didn't happen when we wanted it to happen 5-6 years before it actually happened in 2009 or 10 or whatever. It happened in 2015. So you can't get mad when Top Rank has been making in-house fights for PBC wanting to use and having the roster to do it and wanting to use their players that they already have. Of course, like I said, Spence Crawford is a great fight, but they can build and acquire and set up chess moves all internally and then fight for all the marbles once they've done that. So to me, I don't think it's a matter of Errol Spence or Crawford not wanting to fight each other. It's the politics and the powers that be. And whether you guys want to hear this or not, like Shawn Porter is telling you, like Ego is telling you, the welterweight division is owned by PBC. And what I mean is owned, they have the best fights. There are no star-making fights for Terence Crawford without cross promotion, you know, going to like Golden Boy, or, you know, not even really Golden Boy, but, you know, there's not even that many good fights. Like Crawford could fight Rashidi Ellis with Golden Boy, but I don't know if that makes him a star, you know, because Rashidi Ellis hasn't, that's my dude, shout out to him. He hasn't really received like major promotion. He fought on like Golden Boy Facebook, and not that many people were talking about it, and he looked real good in his last fight. So once again, whether you want to hear this or not, Crawford, the star-making fights for him are the guys that are all with PBC, right? So PBC, they can work internally, mix and match these guys. Like, for example, Errol Spence versus Mikey Garcia. Yes, Mikey would be moving up, but there's going to be people who have the confidence in Mikey that he can do it. You know, I've already heard the talk since they've talked about AT&T Stadium, right? They're trying to build long-term, build stars and align Errol Spence should he get past the guys, you know, put these guys, whether Mikey wins or Errol Spence, for example, this is aligning them up for pay-per-view success, you know, long-term. They're trying to put this first fight on pay-per-view. You guys don't understand. Some people are thinking of the here and now, but they're not thinking of the big picture. If Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia, like they're rumored to fight, do fight, and it does well at AT&T Stadium or Vegas or wherever they put it, right? Especially in Texas, it's going to make headlines, you know? And if the person takes the other person's they're on the fast track to becoming a pay-per-view star, you know? Because this is going to gain some traction. If, let's say, Errol Spence beats Mikey Garcia, because I think he would be the favorite there, then guess what? After he beats Mikey Garcia, if that happens hypothetically, he can unify with Shawn Porter. The winner of that could fight against Keith Thurman. Hopefully he's healthy by then. You get what I'm saying? So that they're just out here like Thanos collecting belts and collecting infinity stones. Terence Crawford cannot do that unless he goes and has a cross promotion with somebody else. And I think that's the problem. PBC could put Errol Spence in all these positions. I mean, sure, he has to still win the fight, but they could put him in positions to have maximum amount of power. Listen, and I think that's what it comes down to. You know, at the end of the day, if Errol Spence fights Terence Crawford, you got to look at this. Think of the big picture versus small picture. If Errol Spence fights Terence Crawford in March, then that's going to deprive the fans of the opportunity to see Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence, you know, straight away. That could be a pay-per-view in itself. And you know, it's going to be an outcome. Spence versus Crawford. Both guys have one belt at the moment. Crawford has the WBO belt, and and Errol Spence, he has the IBF belt. However, if they stay the course and Mikey Garcia fights Errol Spence, let's say Errol beats him, he keeps his IBF belt, he gets some clout from beating a talented fighter and taking his O like Mikey Garcia, right? Then let's say he can unify with Shawn Porter. Then that's a WBC belt he has the opportunity to get. Then let's say he gets past Shawn Porter, he can fight Keith Thurman for all the PBC marbles and bragging right, and then that'll be the WBC belt. Or actually, Keith Thurman has the WBA, so that'll be an opportunity at the WBA belt. Now the winner of that will have the WBA, the WBC, and the IBF. So there won't be much room if that is the given course for whoever. It's almost like a welterweight WBSS or Super 6 tournament. If you keep mixing and matching these, and then you also have guys like Danny Garcia and Broner that you can probably throw in the mix, and Devon Alexander in between fights, and Berto and stuff like that, right? Luis Collazo. All this is going to help the monster. But at the end of it, once you mesh up all these top welterweights that premier boxing champs have, then the person is clearly the A side over a talented Terence Crawford, but he's only going to have one belt, one true belt, which is the WBO belt that he got in his first fight at welterweight. You get what I'm saying? So Top Rank, they might have done it backwards. They maybe should have gave Crawford the Mean Machine Kovalophagus fight, and then the Jose Benavidez fight, and then if he got past that, then try to put him in with Jeff Horn, you know, or maybe see if you can get Pacquiao to rematch Jeff Horn. Crawford fights the winner. But they blew their wad. Now Crawford already has the belt, and directly on that side with that roster, there's not really anyone of value that makes a lot of business sense and is gonna make a lot of noise for him to fight, you know. And I agree with Shawn Porter here. You know, the talent for the PBC side of things is immense in the welterweight division. Just like DAZN. DAZN has the top middleweights. You know, they're real heavy on the middleweight. If Danny Jacobs goes over there, then they have all of the top middleweights except for Jermall Charlo. Same thing happens at the welterweight division with PBC. So, you know, I really like Terence Crawford. I've covered a lot of his last fights, most of his last couple of fights, but I just see him, he re-signed with Top Rank, and, you know, that's his choice. He liked how they do business, and they got him into certain positions, got him living comfortable and whatever. So that's his opportunity, you know, that's his choice. But at the end of the day, I think he is still limited on who he can fight, you know. And the other thing why it seems like a scapegoat is Bob Arum is in a position where his client, Terence Crawford, doesn't have that many welterweight options on their side of the street for him to fight. Yet Bob Arum is also telling Al Heyman's side the one guy that they want to fight. It doesn't really work like that. If you're not in a position of power, how can you demand Errol Spence and that's it? There's other much better fights. Why would Bob Arum not try to make Terence Crawford versus Shawn Porter, Terence Crawford versus anybody, Berto, Luis Collazo, Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia? It's not just Errol Spence or bust. Like, there's all the welterweights are on that side. I'd rather see Terence Crawford versus Devon Alexander than Mean Machine Kovalophagus or whatever. I'd rather see Terence Crawford versus Danny Garcia than Mean Machine. You get, or some random guy who's ranked with the WBO that no one's heard of from like Bucharest or Romania or something. He just happens to be ranked and he's been putting in work on his side. So at the end of the day, that's just what it is. There's not that many star-making fights for Crawford with Top Rank. And they've never really been in this position because they've always had, at different times, Jesse Vargas and Brandon Rios and Mike Alvarado, and I believe Juan Manuel Marquez did a lot of work with them. Obviously Pacquiao, Timothy Bradley, but now they don't have that for Crawford. And I don't really see Crawford moving up again immediately. So it's like, who's he gonna fight? He got this new contract extension. I heard Top Rank has to pay him, $3 million. I don't know if there's any truth to that. $3 million about. but are they going to get a return on their investment if they're putting on? He's already fought Jeff Horn and made it look good. Jose Benavidez put up a good pre-build, you know, pushing Crawford and the trash talking, eat some chicken boy and all that. Like, he already did that. Now that Crawford has gotten past those two opponents, it's like, who is there to fight? So I agree wholeheartedly with Shawn Porter. It's just like all the top guys at welterweight, at least, are with PBC. So Terence Crawford's kind of in a tough spot. He has all the talent in the world. Maybe he can even beat the top PBC guys. This is not even about that. This is not a fight prediction. This is it's a game of chess, and this is a reality video. I'm just giving you guys the cold hard facts and nothing else. Crawford has skill. He might be the best at welterweight. We don't know because we have to see him match. But again, Bob Arum, I don't see how he is trying to say that, oh yeah, Danny Garcia, Shawn Porter, we don't want those fights for Crawford. We just want Errol Spence. Well, guess what? You're not in a position of power, and PBC has their own path and game plan on what they're trying to do. Now, it's different for certain fights, and let me explain, because I know some of you guys are going to think that I'm like condoning the best not fighting the best, which is not true, you know, because a lot of you guys choose to play dumb. The reason I'm saying that is, like, certain fights are a given, like Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. There are no PBC fights for Deontay Wilder. If he gets past Tyson Fury, there's no internal PBC fights that make a lot of sense more so than Joshua. Like, Wilder can't, you know, be a household name fighting Gerald Washington in a rematch, or Dominique Brazil and Adam Kanowski. You know, that's not really going to do that. So he kind of needs to fight Anthony Joshua. Same thing with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, was he going to just fight Derek Chisora, Dillian White 2, Huey Fury, Kubrat Pulev? Those aren't going to really, so they need each other. If Wilder gets past Fury, Wilder and AJ, they need each other to create that big ass, you know, collision. Errol Spence, for example, on PBC, that's not the situation. He has a plethora of different options he can do and use to incorporate and get those coveted belts and put him in the position of maximum power of having more belts than Terence Crawford. So now when you do have to work with the other promotion, you could be like, it's not even up for discussion who's the A side. I beat Shawn Porter, I beat Keith Thurman, and I beat Mikey Garcia, and I got 3 of the 4 major belts. So there's no way you're the A side, you know. So I think this is more of it's more of a chess move. And then there's other, like I said, stay busy, tough fights that'll show us about. Like, I want to see. I don't mind if let's say Errol Spence fights Mikey Garcia. I don't mind if he doesn't unify immediately after that. If he beats Mikey Garcia, I don't mind him fighting Luis Collazo, because Collazo hurt Keith Thurman worse than anybody, you know. So I wouldn't mind seeing how Errol Spence fares. Not every fight is going to be a unification or your toughest fight, but, you know, he's a vet and he's tough, stuff like that. So ultimately, there's just more options for Errol Spence you can mix and match the guys and play this round robin musical chairs. Versus Crawford, you don't really have that on the top rank. And again, my 2 cents for what it's worth, I just feel like Crawford, there's still, even if you don't fight Errol Spence next, there's still much better options for you on PBC, you know. So Bob Arum has to, you know, put the pride aside, in my opinion, and try to make, even if he can't, he wants Errol Spence or nothing. He wants it his way. But again, you're not in the position of power. You can't just say, oh, if we don't get Errol Spence, Danny Garcia is not worth it. Danny Garcia Crawford's still a way better fight than than Terence Crawford versus Mean Machine. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.